It was very nice to meet you. Caleb, thanks for coming on and spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me on. It's my pleasure.
Now, I know this is something that you have dealt with in the past. You fought your own battle as a cancer survivor. What can you tell us about your experience with the Jimmy Fund thus far during your time in New England?
Well, I heard about through Kurt Anolfo, who's my sporting director, who I think was on maybe last year or 2 years ago. But it's just great what you guys do to just raise awareness to cancer, to help people like Emily. To hear that story, it was brought tears in my eyes a little bit. I got a little misty-eyed hearing that. Um, so it's great to be a part of this community. I've only been here 7 months, but I've fallen in love with the greater Boston community and its causes like this that really for me, make it hit home. I've got 3 kids. Um, we live in Wellesley, and fortunately, I haven't dealt with anything like Emily's dealt with. But I do have cancer in my family. My dad's had several cancers, and I had obviously a story of cancer last year.
So, and I'm sorry to jump in, Mego, but was that something where, I don't know, you were maybe hyper vigilant about your own situation, knowing that it was in your family?
Actually, the opposite. I was a typical old school coach that never went to the doctor. So I think it's when I tell people about that, I it's a lesson of what not to do. But I finally went, and it happened fortunately in a time where I had a sabbatical in between coaching jobs. So I had a year off in between Columbus and obviously taking this job. And my wife kept telling me, you need to go see the doctor. You haven't been to the doctor. And, I typically see my trainers for, cold medicine. And
Right.
I honestly had not gone to a doctor. And so I went to a doctor and they did all the blood tests. Unfortunately, the blood tests these days they tell you everything. And the doctor called me the next day and said, your PSA is high. And he's like, you need to see a urologist. And so I didn't think anything of it. I saw the urologist and they did some more tests. And then long story short, had the biopsy and they determined that I had prostate cancer and that I needed to get my prostate removed.
What do you think, just backing up a little bit, what is it with, athletes and coaches and people who are in that community that is resistant to going to see the doctor? You said, I was reading on Boston.com a story from a little bit ago saying where you said you didn't think you'd seen a doctor in your adult life. And
Yeah.
so is that just like
I'm like
you
that with the dentist.
you maintain in such good shape and you feel like you're so in touch with your body already, or what is it?
It's stupidity. Partly we don't have a lot of time, to be honest with you. I mean, our season is 11 months long. So you get that month off, and the last thing you want to do is go to the doctor. You want to go on vacation and see your family. And during the season, you have a game every week, and you've got training sessions, and I'm in the office, 10 hours a day. So you don't have a lot of time. That's a good excuse. But I don't know. Yeah, you're around healthy guys. I mean, I'm healthy. I walk 5 miles a day. I eat right. Think I take care of myself pretty good. I just never really felt there was a need, and that's stupid. You need to see the doctors, and especially, I mean, prostate cancer is the number 2 cancer in men behind skin cancer. It's a number 2 in deaths as well. Most of the time, if you catch it early, you don't die, which is good. I caught it early, and honestly, if I wouldn't have been off, I might not have caught this. I would be coaching, and who knows what would happen from there. So I'm really blessed that I found it and got it taken care of. I'm now a year removed from the surgery, and I'm cancer free.
That's
Wow.
great.
That's awesome.
Great. You mentioned the season's very long, as we know. Your season right now is in the midst of, not to jinx it, but a pretty nice looking comeback here. 10 or 11 games left in the season. Cautiously optimistic. How are you sort of treating all this?
Yeah, it's a rough start. Part of that was the Champions League that we were in. We took some injuries, and there's always a transition, new way of playing. And it took some time. But then we hit our stride. We won 4 in a row. We won 5 of 6. We were rolling. We beat Cincinnati, who was one of the best teams in the league. And then we got injured. So the last 4 games in the league. We've had a lot of our top guys out. Our form hasn't been quite as good, but we did really well in this Leagues Cup. And the group that we were playing, a lot of them are reserve players. They've been fighting, and they've really done an admirable job with our DPs out. And now we're getting healthy. So we have all our players coming back, and we've made some really good signings. So we're a lot better team than we look in the table right now. So I'm hoping we catch teams off guard. I'm really, really confident we're going to make a playoff push here in the last 11 games, and we're going to be very good next year.
Okay, so sticking with this year for a moment, you mentioned some of the additions that you made. What did you add in the transfer window? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we had 2 players out and 4 players in. We added a left back who I know very well from Columbus Crew. I coached him. I signed him. He was a homegrown player. He actually went through the New York City Academy, so we made a trade to get him. We got Tim Parker, who's a very experienced central defender, who was MLS Best 11 player last year. Very experienced, and both those guys bring championship pedigree, which is always important. And then we made 2 big international signings. We signed a young designated player. Basically, it's called the Under 22 Initiative. Lucas Langoni, who plays for one of the top clubs in South America, Boca Juniors. He's a very dynamic winger who will bring a lot in the attack. We haven't scored enough goals this year, so he's going to really help with that. And then we added a midfielder, Al Hassan Yusuf, who is another player in his prime. He's 24 years old, and he's extremely dynamic. So every piece is going to help us significantly, and we add in our players that have been injured, and we're going to be a proper team.
You've had a tremendous success in Major League Soccer. What's it been like coming to Boston in a situation that was kind of an unusual end last season, and then stepping into this role and taking the team in this new direction?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 3rd club, so I've been in the league 10 years, and I've been fortunate to be in. I was in Portland 5 years, I was in Columbus 4 years, so in professional coaching, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I'm here a long time, but with every club and every city, I pick the jobs carefully. I liked the story a lot of Portland and going there and Columbus, and I love the story coming here because they hadn't won an MLS Cup, although they have a great history, a rich tradition, and a lot of success, but they've never won the MLS Cup. So that really lured me here. Plus my wife's from Maine, so she grew up in York, Maine, and so she has New England roots, and I love Boston. I always have. And, I liked Kurt in the interview process, and I love the Crafts as owners. So I was aligned with the vision of the owners and our sporting director. And so the transition's been tougher than I thought. But you never know until you get in what it's going to be like. The first year in Columbus was rough, just like this, and we won MLS Cup in year 2. So I'm hoping this path's similar or even better. Maybe we close and win it this year. But yeah, the transition's been tough. Partly the style of play of the past coach and mine, very different. So that, it takes time when you're changing a lot in terms of culture and style of play. And like you said, the end of last year wasn't very good. So I think some of the players, they needed to shake that off a little bit. So it took a little bit of time. But everybody's on board. Everybody's excited. It feels, not good to sit at the bottom of the table right now. I've never been in that position, but I'm actually enjoying, kind of the process of building this team back up and getting to the top again.
The other team that you share a facility with, they're building their team back up too. Is it sort of a new beginning all around there in Foxborough right now? Is that sort of like permeating both teams? Do you feel that?
Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young energy. We have a lot of young players.
Mm-hmm.
We have 5 homegrown players that have played this year. We have a kid playing that's 16 years old right now, starting, and really talented, and a lot of energy. We're super hungry, our staff. I know their staff is super hungry, and even the structures of the coaches. The coaches were the sporting directors, and now there's a coach and a sporting director, and love the Crafts. They've been very supportive, and that's key. We haven't had a good start, so fortunately they're patient, they're experienced. I'm experienced. I understand that it takes time. Hopefully the fans stick with us, but we're gonna have a very good team here.
Do you And I feel like I already know the answer to this. I've talked to Bruce in the past. I've talked to Brad Friedel in the past. Do you get tired of the stadium conversation?
No, because it'd be great if we got it, So I don't get tired of it. I hope it doesn't go away, that talk.
Because it seems like every time it's about to happen, it gets pulled away, and I'm curious where you're at. So you think it would be a great thing to have a soccer only facility in the Boston area? What sort of difference would that make?
It would be a game changer. And I went through that in Columbus. So I was a part of building a brand new stadium downtown in Columbus and a brand new training ground. And I saw firsthand the transformation that the club went through. The Columbus Crew is ready to leave because they had an old MLS 1.0 stadium. Now, obviously, the stadium Gillette is much different than we had in Columbus because the Columbus Stadium was truly an erector set. It was only soccer, and it was like they slapped the stadium up, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and no one wanted to go to the games there. So it started to die, the fan base, a little bit. Not the diehard supporters, but
right.
We couldn't fill the building, and we built a brand new stadium downtown, and they're packed every single game. And there's a thirst for soccer in this country and in Boston, a huge soccer-loving fan base, and we get good attendance down at Gillette. It just in the stadium doesn't look like it because it's 20,000.
Right, it looks half empty, but
yes.
But if it was a 20,000 seat,
like
the Garden sized, it would be full. Yeah,
you want it intimate, and really, it's like any pro sports team. You want to be able to go to dinner, have a beer, walk to the game. You want to feel the heartbeat of the city when you're in the stadium. It's just different. It's a different feeling. We get players that come in and our hotels down at Foxborough, and they don't even see. I didn't even see this. Downtown Boston. Yeah. I'd see Fox.
Got to go up in the lighthouse for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've learned to put guys in Boston now because it's such a selling point. It's one of the best cities in the country.
Well, Caleb, we appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, all that you do, joining us here during the Jimmy Fund Telethon. Next time you're on, say hi to our guys, Zoe and Beetle. I know you go on with them as well. And thanks so much for joining us here.